been ages since I've talked to you like this, you know, just you and me, but there's been so much going on. I thought, do you know what, I'm going to sit down and have a chat to you, and every Sunday tell you a wee bit of a story about everything I've been up to during the week, because I think some of it you might want to get involved with, some of it you might just want to follow along and watch the story develop. And let me start with a project called Stitch Story. Some of you might have seen some of the posts that I've mentioned about this project already. It's an ambitious project. It involves creating a community embroidery which is going to be 8 meters long, that long, and it's made up of hundreds and thousands of stitches from 15,000 Tewkesbury residents. Tewkesbury's in Gloucestershire, in the middle of England, and it's this really rather special place that has got all sorts of characters, and we want to kind of tell the story of those characters and sprinkle in some of Tewkesbury's beautiful history as well. So it's not a chronological story of history, it's more of a storytelling piece of art, which is what I absolutely love. I love art that tells a story. Now, this isn't my idea, this is the brainchild of an artist called Jo Teague. And if you haven't come across Jo's work before, you need to check out her website. I am in love with some of her work. It's so detailed, and it's kind of got a sense of, sometimes there's a sense of mysticism, sometimes there's a sense of folklore about it. And anyway, you'll see, have a look at her work, because she is a textile artist who lives locally, and she came up with this idea of creating this community involvement via an embroidery. And through Tewkesbury Culture, which is a network of great organisations in Tewkesbury, like the library, the theatre, the abbey, there's a whole list of them. It's a massive effort where people come together and they support the cultural activities of Tewkesbury. And they backed Jo's idea, and I was very, very lucky to be asked to illustrate the idea of the embroidery. So what we decided to do is to create like key moments, almost like milestones in the embroidery design that could act as like anchor points in the story. So significant points that people would easily recognise, things like the Shakespeare boats, or the River Avon, or the River Severn, or the beautiful bridges, and of course Tewkesbury Abbey, the Mott Fair, all sorts of things are sprinkled in along this design. And it was my job to kind of play around with the characters and the shapes and the colour, and be able to have like this flowing narrative through this long piece of work. And we had a few iterations before we decided on the final design, and then once the final illustration was made, that was then transferred to panels of material. So this long piece of artwork was then divided into 10 pieces, 10 panels, and those 10 panels are now stretched pieces of fabric which will be embroidered by 15,000 people of Tewkesbury. Already this week, as we've started to gain momentum in people being involved and people knowing about it and people starting to talk about it, the embroidery itself is already taking a life of its own, and it's coming alive with those stitches. And we're involving all sorts of people to really help us get the message out there that this project is going on, so nobody misses out. Jo is going to be holding some great workshops at schools, at clubs, at societies. You'll find all the information on the Roses Theatre website, and I'll put a little link down below. You might not have ever stitched before, but it's important that you living in Tewkesbury have the opportunity to just do one stitch if you want to do one stitch.
I'm going to be here till 6 o'clock.
Or if you're really into it and you want to do quite a bit of the work, then there's absolutely lots of opportunity for you to do that too. So to get this project started, we have been inviting people who can tell a bit more of a story about what they know about Tewkesbury.
Where I grew up, Stanford Road. That was like the hub for us as kids, and then hanging out at the Iron Bridge. But there's probably Northway Park as well, when we had a big slide. Like, you remember the little slides that you can kill yourself on? It was like
The ones that give you bum friction burn.
Yeah.
And just to embellish not only the stitches, but also how we weave stories in and we start conversations. And I was sat with Tewkesbury's town mayoress the other day, and we were talking about how the textile trade, prevalent in Tewkesbury but also across Britain, we were famous for our textiles at one point, and it really influenced our language and how we talk. So sometimes you'll hear terminology or idioms like
in time, so to speak. So
oh, cloth ears, did you not hear what I said?
you stitch yourself up. You do make a bloody mess.
These different things are weaved, there we go, another one, weaved into the fabric of our language and how we understand one another. And what I loved about talking to Tewkesbury's town mayoress, Joanne, was that not only did she tell me little stories like that and share anecdotes, she very obviously exudes a love for the town. And Tewkesbury's not just about the historical buildings, it's about the stories and it's about the people.
And each one of us contributes to that sense of community. There are going to be thousands and thousands of stitches in each one of those, and each stitch is just a small part. But without that stitch, it's not going to be the same product at the end of the day. And one of my favourite places is the Ham. In fact, I delivered a talk on the Ham on Monday. When I first joined the Town Council, I became a member of the Seven Ham Committee, and I was just fascinated because I thought it was just an empty field, and I discovered there was so much about it, a huge amount of history, a huge amount of different activities that have taken place on it over the years, and yet despite all the things that have happened to it, it's one of only 3% of the original ancient water meadows left in the whole country. So it's really, really special, it's been great this year to see the work that's been going on there, to have the water mains replaced. It's been great to be able to work with Severn Trent to make that happen, and it's been lovely to sort of share the stories about the Severn Ham to people in the town, so that they know what a fantastic asset we have there amongst the many assets. We've got so many assets in this town, haven't we? Wonderful buildings, wonderful environments. We're just embroidering part of one of these pictures and think, well, I don't know very much about that building or that particular stand of trees, or I don't know much about the monks and how long they were here, and then it inspires you to go and find out, doesn't it? Which is nice, or to ask questions, and then actually asking questions, you'll find all sorts of people who know bits of information that you just weren't aware of. So I think it's a good way of starting conversations.
The finished embroidery is going to be launched in May, and then it's going to go on a tour, and I'm going to be following it from now through to May, showing you how it grows, how it develops, and capturing some of those stories of those people who contribute to this brilliant piece of work.
I'd like to see that you've got lots of people who've been involved in it. I'd like to know that people of all ages, all types of skills, all types of interests have found something in these panels that they think, I can relate to that, I want to put my stitches in there. I want people to be able to, point out to, children to be able to point out to their grandparents, that's where I did my bit, or that kind of thing. I'd like people to feel that they've taken part and they know more about their town as a result of this, and that their love for the town has enhanced.